With just 4 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Kevin Lekmanski is on his practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Kyalami 1967 as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Kevin Lekmanski is on his practice out lap. Simon of the Desert posted 1:42.273 on his last lap, and will be pushing hard for an even lower time.
Simon is not giving up and will be looking for every 10th.
It's a lovely day for racing here at Kyalami 1967 as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Lekmanski is getting to grips with the ASRL Ferrari F40 in this practice session. Malero has a best lap time of 1:20.361.
If there is still time on the clock, there is still time to improve.
Malero has a best lap time of 1:20.361.
There is always more time to be found, but Malero is not guaranteed to find it.
Malero just posted a 1:20.372 crossing start finish.
The time clock can be a cruel mistress that is all too willing to show you your faults.
Kevin Lekmanski is on his first practice flying lap. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations.
If there is still time on the clock, there is still time to improve.
Kevin Lekmanski has a best lap time of 1:19.778. Simon of the Desert has a best lap time of 1:21.433. Simon of the Desert posted 3:38.668 on his last lap, and will be pushing hard for an even lower time. With just 0 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations.
There is always more time to be found, but Adam Keefe is not guaranteed to find it.
Adam Keefe has a best lap time of 1:20.246.
Adam Keefe is not giving up and will be looking for every 10th.
Adam Keefe just posted a 2:43.586 crossing start finish.
The time clock can be a cruel mistress that is all too willing to show you your faults.
David Zahn is on his practice out lap. Let's get this qualifying session underway here at Kyalami 1967. David Zahn is on his out lap.
It's a delicate balance between taking it easy and pushing hard. Let's see how Zahn handles it.
David Zahn is driving through Crowthorne Corner.
This track has many great straights and corners, but this one is especially good.
David Zahn is keeping his head down through Sunset Bend.
I have always loved this section of the track.
The adrenaline is pumping. Malero is on his out lap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. That ASRL Ferrari F40 looks good driving through Clubhouse Bend.
When I get some free time after the race, I'm going to park my pudding near Clubhouse Bend with a nice drink and some friends.
Malero appears focused and prepared driving through Leeucop Bend. This is where the mental game comes into play. Kevin Lekmansky is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run. Kevin Lekmansky is looking relatively composed going through Barbecue Bend.
This is such a great track. I need to make it back here more often.
Kevin Lekmansky is working his way through Clubhouse Bend. It looks like Simon of the Desert is getting ready to make his move. He's taking his time to warm up those tires and get everything just right. Simon of the Desert is keeping his head down through Sunset Bend.
If Simon listens closely, the sounds of cheering fans should just barely be audible over the roar of the engine.
Kevin Lekmansky has completed his outlap. Kevin Lekmansky is driving through Crowthorne Corner.
There's not much better than sitting near here and watching the cars speed by.
Adam Keefe will be looking to use this first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings. Adam Keefe is in the green by 0.42, making his way through Clubhouse Bend. Adam Keefe has just completed a lap in 1:18.903. Let's see if he can improve on that time further. Adam Keefe appears focused and prepared driving through Crowthorne Corner.
There's a great spot near here to kick back with a cold drink and enjoy the beauty of it all.
There are just over 10 minutes left in this qualification session. David Zahn is looking relatively composed going through Barbecue Bend.
To see the best action, you can't go wrong here at Barbecue Bend.
Malero is now up 0.4. Malero is driving through Clubhouse Bend and is up 0.53. That ASRL Ferrari F40 looks good driving through Liukop Bend. David Zahn has improved by 0.31. David Zahn will be happy, with a time good enough for fourth in this qualifying session.
It may be difficult for him to find that missing 1.582, but that won't stop him from trying.
This is what it's all about. Sketty is putting everything he's got into this qualifying session. Sketty is expertly commanding that car through Sunset Bend.
There's a spot near here where the teenagers sneak off to make out.
Sketty is 1.26 up driving through Liukop Bend. Sketty just clocked a 120.977, 2.074 off of P1 and good enough for P5. Let's see if he can improve on that time further. David Zahn is in the green by 0.12. David Zahn will be happy, with a time good enough for fourth in this qualifying session. It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and Bones is nailing both. Bones is driving through the S's. Bones has just completed that lap in 128.779, which is 9.876 off the best time, putting him in P7. Malero is up 0.12. Malero is keeping his head down through the S's.
The ASRL Ferrari F40 is indeed a sweet-ass looking ride.
Simon of the Desert has found an extra 0.13. Simon of the Desert is working his way through the S's.
Spectators near here can smell the smoke wafting from nearby grills.
Simon of the Desert has some work to do, as his best time of 121.258 is only good enough for sixth.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure he will keep working on that 2.355 gap to pole.
There are just over 5 minutes left. Bones has some work to do, as his best time of 1:24.856 is only good enough for 7th.
There's at least 5.953 seconds to be found, but Bones may be looking for it in the wrong places.
Kevin Lekmansky is now up 0.11. Kevin Lekmansky is currently up 0.15 going through the S's. Simon of the Desert is in the green by 0.41. Bones has improved by 0.62. Simon of the Desert is looking relatively composed going through the S's. That ASRL Ferrari F40 looks good driving through Clubhouse Bend. Kevin Lekmansky has improved by 0.18 up through the S's.
If Lekmansky looks at that delta too much, it may end up being a distraction, and all that time he found may be lost.
Sketty has found an extra 0.1. Sketty is expertly commanding that car through Sunset Bend.
This track has many great straights and corners, but this one is especially good.
Sketty is driving through Liu Cop Bend.
The action and glory drivers have lived here at Liu Cop Bend is truly historic.
Sketty will be happy, with a time good enough for 4th in this qualifying session. Adam Keefe has improved by 0.41. Adam Keefe appears focused and prepared driving through Clubhouse Bend. Simon of the Desert is now up 0.79 in Liu Cop Bend. Simon of the Desert has some work to do, as his best time of 1:20.650 is only good enough for 6th. Adam Keefe is driving through Barbecue Bend and is up 0.16. Adam Keefe is 0.28 up driving through Clubhouse Bend. Adam Keefe is currently on provisional pole, with a time of 1:18.647. Adam Keefe is keeping his head down through Crowthorne Corner.
I have always loved this section of the track.
Adam Keefe has lost 0.34 seconds so far through Sunset Bend.
Adam Keefe isn't looking great now, but I have faith he can turn this around.
What a performance from Bones, currently in 7th on the grid. It's a good spot for now, but other drivers are trying their hardest to put in a better time and push him down the order. Bones is working his way through Crowthorne Corner. Impressive display by Kevin Lekmanski, currently sitting in P2. He's set a competitive time, but the question remains whether he can push even harder to secure a better starting position. Kevin Lekmanski is expertly commanding that car through Clubhouse Bend. A solid performance from Bones, currently holding down P7. However, with the session coming to a close, he'll need to find that extra bit of speed to move up the grid. Bones has some work to do, as his best time of 1:24.856 is only good enough for 7th. Kevin Lekmanski is currently in 2nd during qualifying. The challenge now is to assess his competitors and strategize how to move up the order for a better race start.
You're spot on, Marco. Lekmanski's current position of 2nd is a testament to his skills and determination. Now, there is the challenge of maintaining his position against hungry rivals.
Kevin Lekmanski is not able to keep his pace consistent, so far 0.3 seconds down through the S's. And there goes Bones, currently in P7. He's shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still a chance to improve on that time. Bones has some work to do, as his best time of 1:24.856 is only good enough for 7th. There's a little bit of wind in the air today here at Kyalami 1967, as we're getting ready to kick things off. Adam Keefe will be feeling confident starting from pole position.
He can't afford to get complacent. He will have a target on his back now.
Starting on the front row is a great opportunity for Kevin Lekmanski to challenge for the lead.
He will have to keep his foot on the gas in order to stay at the sharp end of the grid.
Taking the 3rd spot is Malero.
A strong grid position, and he'll be expecting a solid result today.
Sketty lines up in 4th place as the engines rev and the race begins.
He's going to have to be quick out of the blocks to keep up with the top performers.
Securing the 5th place is David Zahn.
I think we are all looking forward to seeing what Zahn can do from here.
Starting from the 6th position on the grid, we have Simon of the Desert.
Like many others, Simon is starting the race on the medium's tire compound.
Bones is placed in 7th. The starting signal has been given, and the drivers face the uncertainty of the first lap. With cars packed tightly together, the potential for spins or collisions is high.
Concentration is crucial as they navigate through the pack and try to establish a strong position. The best drivers know how to find their rhythm quickly.
The pressure is on when the field is this tightly packed. Maintaining just enough aggression to hold off their rivals without pushing too hard will help these drivers keep it clean.
It all comes down to this, Marco, where the rubber meets the road. There's no more time for talk, no more practice. The teams have done all they can, now it comes down to Adam Keefe to bring it home.
Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position?
I'm looking forward to this one, Marco. Maybe we'll see a return to form for Malero in this outing in South Africa.
I think passing is going to be difficult today here at Kyalami 1967, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on. There's not much to report on from David Zahn at the moment. He's just keeping his head down and putting in consistent laps.
Consistency is key in racing. Zahn just needs to keep doing what he's doing and wait for opportunities to present themselves.
It's hold that thought. Heartbreak for Sketty as they slip down the field. A setback for Sketty, who hold that thought. I don't think that's the fastest way around Kyalami 1967.
Kyalami 1967 is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
Kevin Lekmansky has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Adam Keefe. I expect his only hope at this point is that Adam Keefe makes an error. The battle for P6 is heating up as Sketty tries to catch Malero in P6.
It's a game of strategy now as Sketty hunts down Malero. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. It's
not going to plan for Sketty. who is trailing behind Malero, and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now.
This is not ideal for Sketty, but there's still time to turn this around. He'll need to focus and not let that gap get any bigger.
The pursuit is on. Kevin Lekmansky is working on that gap to Adam Keefe, determined to claim P1.
Lekmansky needs to focus to make up that gap to Adam Keefe.
The gap between Kevin Lekmansky and Adam Keefe is widening. It's now up to 1.0 seconds. Anyone who says that ASRL is not the best racing club on the planet is clearly insane. The quality of driving we're seeing out there on the track is absolutely phenomenal.
I couldn't agree more. It's like these drivers were born to race. They're weaving in and out of traffic, taking corners at unbelievable speeds, and making it all look effortless. It's clear that they've put in the time and effort to hone their skills.
The race is really heating up. Malero is hunting down David Zahn with everything he's got.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Malero should use slipstreaming to his advantage and close the gap to Zahn.
It's game on now. Malero has closed the gap to David Zahn. It's now down to 0.5 seconds. Things are going according to plan for Adam Keefe, who is currently first. Malero is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. Wait, that won't be ideal for Bones.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race, he'd been looking at a decent result.
Things are heating up as Malero tries to close the gap to David Zahn.
This is where every inch counts. Malero is pushing hard to close the gap on Dave. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Good news for Malero. The gap to David Zahn has decreased. It's now down to 0.1 seconds. Braking alert. An impressive showing from Malero, who has gained positions and left David Zahn in the dust. David Zahn could be looking for a way up the inside of Malero.
There is no room for error in this battle.
David Zahn has got his head down now, working those exits and apexes and setting his best lap time so far with a 1 minute. As a former racing driver, Janet, how important is the relationship between a driver and their team during a race?
It's absolutely crucial, Marco. The team provides valuable information and support, helping the driver make the right decisions on track. A strong bond between the driver and the team can be the difference between winning and losing.
This is where the race gets really interesting. David Zahn is closing in on Malero. Things don't seem to be going Bones' way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. It looks like Bones is making a move. The gap to Sketty is now down to 2.9 seconds.
This is what racing is all about, hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
That's not a small gap, but David Zahn has what it takes to challenge for the position.
This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Zahn in P5 doing everything he can to catch up.
David Zahn is on a charge. His split time shows he's upped his pace. A strong showing from Sketty, who is currently 6th. Impressive stuff from Sketty, who has managed to pull away from Bones, leaving him in choking in his exhaust fumes. Well, it doesn't look like David Zahn is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Malero. It seems like David Zahn is pushing hard, currently on track to record his best lap so far this race. You know, Janet, I've always wondered, how do racing drivers stay so cool and collected under such immense pressure?
Well, Marco, it comes down to mental strength and training. Drivers often work with sports psychologists and practice techniques like meditation and visualization to help them stay calm and focused during high-pressure situations.
The delta between David Zahn in 5th and Malero remains over a second, but David Zahn is not letting up.
We know Malero isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Zahn is going to have to take it.
It looks like Kevin Lekmansky is pushing hard to catch up to Adam Keefe.
It's going to be tough for Lekmansky, as Adam Keefe seems to have found his rhythm.
The gap between Kevin Lekmansky and Adam Keefe is getting smaller. The gap between Adam Keefe and Kevin Lekmansky is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Adam Keefe to even allow Kevin to get a look in. It's looking good for Adam Keefe, sitting in first. It seems like Adam Keefe is struggling. His last lap time was a bit off the pace of Kevin Lekmansky. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Kevin Lekmansky, as there is a big gap ahead.
Every race adds to a driver's experience, both good and bad. It just highlights that Lekmansky is going to have to get more serious with practice to not get outclassed on the circuit.
It's not looking good for Kevin Lekmansky, who is still behind Adam Keefe, and the gap is increasing.
He needs to pick up the pace for sure, but that's not always a real possibility.
Things don't seem to be going Malero's way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. It looks like we might get a battle between Malero and Simon of the Desert.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
Kevin Lekmansky has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Adam Keefe. I expect his only hope at this point is that Adam Keefe makes an error.
Lekmansky certainly isn't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon unless it's down to a mistake from Adam Keefe.
Kevin Lekmansky is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Adam Keefe at the moment. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Bones trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Sketty. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. It looks like Sketty is pulling away from Bones. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through the S's.
It's not over yet, but Bones needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Sketty.
Kevin Lekmansky is pushing to maintain the lead, while Simon of the Desert is working to close in and challenge for the position. Simon of the Desert is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Kevin Lekmansky to 0.8 seconds. What a move! Simon of the Desert has moved up to second. Wow, Kevin Lekmansky is really pushing hard to catch up to Simon of the Desert.
The chase between Kevin and Simon is like a high-speed game of tag only, the stakes are much higher.
The gap between Kevin Lekmansky and Malero is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Kevin to even allow Malero to get a look in.
It's not over until the checkered flag drops, and it's important to maintain concentration until you've made it to the finish line.
Oh, this is getting intense. Kevin Lekmansky is just a few car lengths behind Simon of the Desert. Kevin Lekmansky needs to find some speed, or maybe get more consistent. Janet, he's just put in a slower lap than Simon of the Desert.
It will be interesting to see if Simon can keep outpacing Kevin.
Janet, can you share some strategies that drivers use to manage tire degradation during a race?
Certainly, Marco. Some strategies include adjusting the car's setup for better tire life, altering driving lines to reduce wear, and using tire management techniques like lift and coast to preserve grip for as long as possible.
It's a close race between Simon of the Desert and Kevin. Breaking update. Fantastic move from Simon of the Desert, who has just gained a position. What do you think, Janet? Are there any specific factors that could hold up? Breaking info. Disappointing for Simon of the Desert, falling down the order to third.
Sucks to be the Marco.
It seems like Kevin Lekmansky is getting in range of Malero.
He'll need to keep it on the road, or at the very least the rumble strips. The fastest way around is not usually in the grass. As the saying goes, too much grass will slow you down.
Kevin Lekmansky appears to be losing ground on Malero. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into the S's to get a good exit and gain some ground. A solid performance from Adam Keefe, who is holding down first.
Definitely, but he can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers gunning for that position, and Adam Keefe has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
Kevin Lekmansky is on a mission, chasing Malero, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. It's certainly not going to plan for Kevin Lekmansky right now, who is struggling to keep up with Malero. In your experience, Janet, what was the most important aspect of managing tire degradation during a race?
The most important aspect, Marco, was maintaining a good balance between pushing hard and conserving tires. Finding the sweet spot between aggression and tire preservation was key to optimizing race pace and strategy.
Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between Malero in second and Kevin Lekmansky. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.3 seconds. Every move counts now as Kevin Lekmansky works to reel in Malero and overtake for P2.
The gap is 0.5 seconds now. Lekmansky is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Malero.
The gap between Kevin Lekmansky and Malero is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds.
This is a frustrating situation for Lekmansky, but he can't give up just yet. He'll need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Malero.
Well, it doesn't look like David Zahn is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Simon of the Desert. The pressure is on as Kevin Lekmansky tries to catch up to Malero.
The gap between them is just over 0.5 seconds, which can feel like miles if you're trailing and not catching up.
It's game on now. Kevin Lekmansky has closed the gap to Malero. It's now down to 0.4 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
David Zahn will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
Anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Zahn pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if he can do it again.
Kevin Lekmansky is giving it his all, chasing down Malero in P2. It's not going to plan for Kevin Lekmansky, who is trailing behind Malero and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
Oops, Lekmansky is going to be wishing that hadn't happened.
David Zahn is running fifth, and trying to keep up with Kevin Lekmansky.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Zahn needs to stay patient and wait for Lekmansky to make a mistake.
David Zahn could be on a charge here, Janet. He's just put in a quicker lap than Kevin Lekmansky.
The question now is, can Lekmansky respond to that and pick up the pace? I'm not so sure.
It's all about consistency for Kevin Lekmansky, who is currently fourth.
Yes, but Lekmansky has to keep his focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
Impressive driving from Kevin Lekmansky, who has managed to extend his lead over David Zahn. It looks like David Zahn will have to regroup and try to make up that lost ground.
It's really looking like Kevin is going to be tough to pass today. He's driving with real confidence and authority.
Looks like we've had a few incidents out there.
Someone forgot to take their driving lessons. They're making more U-turns than a confused tourist.
Hilarious. I think they might need to call their GPS for directions. Maybe it can help them navigate the track. Malero is placed second at the moment. Oh, Janet, Malero has seen his lead over Simon of the Desert shrink to 4.7 seconds.
That's a worrying sign for Malero.
Wow, Adam Keefe is really pushing hard in these final moments of the race.
That's an impressive burst of speed. It's all but said and done now.
What a win! This is a historic moment for Adam Keefe, who put on a masterclass in driving today. What a display of skill and precision! Malero never gave up. He drove with heart and determination, ultimately securing a well-deserved second-place finish. Impressive drive from Simon of the Desert to claim the final spot on the podium.
Impressive driving to secure that spot.
Taking 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th is Kevin Lekmanski, David Zahn, Sketty, and Bones. There's a little bit of wind in the air today here at Kyalami 1967, as we're getting ready to get things underway. Bones will have the best seat in the house starting from pole position.
He can't get cocky. This is ASRL, and anything can happen.
Sketty will be looking to convert this front row start into a win.
This is a great place to be, but there's always the threat of drivers right behind getting a better start and a slipstream into the first turn.
Lining up in third is David Zahn.
David will be expecting to bring home solid points.
We're seeing Kevin Lekmansky in the fourth spot.
Kevin will be ready to show what he's made of.
Simon of the Desert will begin the race from the fifth spot on the starting grid.
Starting from here, Desert may already have expectations of a podium finish.
Malero is holding down the fort in sixth place.
The Brazilian driver will be focused on a good result from here.
Sitting in seventh is Adam Keefe. And the green flag drops. The race is officially underway.
This is where the driver's true abilities will be put to the test. Staying calm and collected while pushing for the lead is the ultimate challenge.
Races are often more about maintaining consistency than having outright pace, but it doesn't hurt to have a little good luck every now and then. Having started in P7, Adam Keefe will be hoping for a good result in this race.
Let's hope everyone is able to stay focused for the challenge ahead.
As we watch the drivers fight it out in the first lap, I can already feel that this is going to be an epic race. As the tires come up to temp, their available grip is changing, and the drivers that manage this transition best are likely to make progress through the field.
There are a few drivers with a point to prove, and a few with some grudges to bear. Let's hope they can keep it clean.
It's been a solid race so far for Adam Keefe. He's holding his position and keeping a steady pace. Let's talk about tire degradation. Janet, how does it affect the car's handling and what do drivers need to do to adapt? Hold up, breaking info. Big gains for Adam Keefe as they move up the field, leaving Sketty behind. This is wheel-to-wheel racing at its finest. The drivers are practically glued together as they hold on a moment. Looks like that's a mistake from Simon of the Desert. This could be costly. Malero is looking for an opportunity to get around Adam Keefe.
If you don't push the boundaries, you will never know where they are.
This is going to be a nail-biter. Adam Keefe is defending for his life, but Malero is right there doing everything he can to force a mistake.
Malero is certainly pushing all he can, but the gap might be too much. Unless Adam Keefe makes a mistake, it looks like he'll hold on to third.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Malero is chasing Adam Keefe in P3.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control.
Hold on a moment. I don't think that's the fastest way around Kyalami 1967. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
There's blood in the water for second place.
Great driving from Adam Keefe, who has just gained a place and moved up to second. It's a thrilling pursuit as Sketty is right behind Adam Keefe, keeping the pressure on for second place. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving.
The gap between Malero and David Zahn is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds. I'm curious, Janet, can you tell us about any pre-race rituals you had when you were racing?
Of course, Marco. Before every race, I would listen to a specific playlist of songs to help me get in the zone. I also had a lucky pair of socks that I would wear during races. It may sound silly, but those little rituals helped me feel prepared and focused.
Sketty is pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap to Adam Keefe. There's 4 minutes left in this session to make that happen.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as Sketty tries to reel in Adam Keefe.
It's a game of inches now as Malero tails David Zahn closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake.
Should things go south between Malero and Dave, we might witness a high-speed game of bumper cars, but trust me, it's way less fun with real race cars.
Malero is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with David Zahn at the moment.
Malero needs to get it together to make a dent in that gap.
Sketty is trying to catch up to Adam Keefe. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. The pursuit is on. Malero is closing the gap on David Zahn, determined to claim P4. It looks like Malero is making a move. The gap to David Zahn is now down to 0.1 second. Hold that thought. A brilliant maneuver from Malero, who has just moved up the field.
You can't argue with results like that. Malero is really making his mark on this race.
David Zahn is looking for a way round Malero.
To achieve anything in this game, you must be prepared to dabble at the boundary of disaster.
The battle for P6 is heating up as Simon of the Desert tries to catch Bones in P6. This is a thrilling battle as David Zahn edges closer to Malero in their fight for P4.
You can see that car bouncing around as it rides the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
It's not looking good for David Zahn, who is still behind Malero, and the gap is increasing.
This is where the mental toughness of Zahn comes into play. He'll need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way.
The pressure is on as Adam Keefe works on catching up to Kevin Lekmanski.
Adam Keefe is really hustling that ASRL Ferrari F40. He's riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
It seems like Adam Keefe has got the bit between his teeth, improving on Kevin Lekmanski's lap time there.
As long as Adam Keefe can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
Looks like Simon of the Desert is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. We'll have to wait to see if Simon can use the draft to his advantage, or if the lack of downforce will hinder his progress.
It's certainly not going to plan for Simon of the Desert right now, who is struggling to keep up with Bones.
Simon needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way. If he can close the gap down, he may be able to bring the fight to Bones.
Adam Keefe is running second, and trying to catch Kevin Lekmanski. Things are heating up as Simon of the Desert tries to close the gap to Bones. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed. Oh, this is getting intense. Simon of the Desert is just a few car lengths behind Bones.
The mental game is just as important here. Simon must keep his cool while putting pressure on Bones.
The race is really heating up. Adam Keefe is hunting down Kevin Lekmanski with everything he's got. Rising to the occasion and claiming victory would hope to cement Simon of the Desert's legendary status. This is where the race gets really interesting. Adam Keefe is closing in on Kevin Lekmanski.
With just 0.5 seconds between them, Adam Keefe will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
In racing, anything can, and usually does, happen, especially in such an epic showdown.
One wrong move and we could see a spectacular new synchronized pirouette performance by Simon and Bones, though I doubt the judges would give them a perfect score.
Adam Keefe is giving it his all, chasing down Kevin Lekmanski in P1. Every move counts now as Simon of the Desert works to reel in Bones and overtake for P6. Look at that. Adam Keefe is hot on the tail of Kevin Lekmanski. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. Simon is looking to close the 0.5 second gap and make a pass.
Oh, this is getting intense. Adam Keefe is just behind Kevin Lekmanski.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Adam Keefe and Kevin both need to stay cool under pressure.
The battle for P6 is heating up as Simon of the Desert tries to catch Bones in P6.
The gap between them is just over 0.4 seconds. Can Simon close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
Adam Keefe is on a mission, chasing Kevin Lekmanski, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. There's been an incident and we have a safety car, but it's all part of the game, and the drivers and teams will have to find a way to adapt to the situation.
And who knows, this could be a blessing in disguise for some of the drivers who were struggling earlier in the race. They now have a chance to regroup and make a comeback when the safety car finally comes back in.
It's all up in the air, and that's what makes this sport so exciting. During your racing career, Janet, did you have any specific techniques to regain concentration if you felt it slipping?
Yes, Marco, I had a few techniques. One was to take a couple of deep breaths and briefly reset my focus. Another was to use a specific keyword or phrase as a mental trigger to refocus my mind on the task at hand.
And we have the safety car out, which means the drivers need to be extra cautious now.
It's a real game changer, with drivers needing to adjust their strategies and try to find ways to gain an advantage.
It's also a bit of a break for the drivers, giving them a chance to catch their breath and regroup. But hold the phone. Rev your engines, folks. We're back to full throttle racing. It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce.
If Bones gets any closer, he might as well ask Zahn for a piggyback ride.
This is what it's all about, folks. Simon of the Desert is in hot pursuit of Bones, who's just trying to stay ahead. It looks like Adam Keefe is all over Kevin Lekmansky going through Clubhouse Bend, increasing the pressure and hoping for a mistake.
Rubbing's racing, but let's just hope they don't rub it too hard.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any breaking update. A great moment for Sketty, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. We're starting to see who really has the pace now in this race as Malero is starting to climb all over the back of Adam Keefe. Any closer and he may need to pop the boot.
This is a tight race and Adam Keefe is doing a great job of holding him off. It will be interesting to see if
Hold the phone. This is not looking good for Adam Keefe. He's just lost third to Malero. At this point his strategy seems to be failing him.
That's right. He's got to stay focused and not let this setback affect his mindset. Meanwhile, Malero is showing some incredible skill and determination, and is now a serious threat to the other drivers on the track.
It's all eyes on this battle as David Zahn in 6th tries to hold off the challenge of Simon of the Desert.
Yeah, I really can't see him holding on to this place for much longer.
It's an intense battle for position as Simon of the Desert tries to outmaneuver David Zahn. This is edge of your seat racing. This is a thrilling battle as Adam Keefe edges closer to Malero in their fight for P3. The action is non-stop as David Zahn shadows Bones through every twist and turn. Breaking update. What a tight spot for David Zahn. Simon is right on his tail 0.2 seconds away, and Bones just inches ahead with a gap of 0.2 seconds. It's a true test of these drivers' racecraft abilities.
You're right on the money, Marco. Zahn is caught between two determined rivals, and the gaps to the cars ahead and behind add an extra layer of complexity. It's a delicate balance between defense and seeking opportunities.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Malero is chasing Sketty in P2.
The gap between them is now just over 0.5 seconds.
The gap between Adam Keefe and Malero is razor thin as they vie for third in this nail-biting contest. Simon of the Desert seems to be putting the pressure on David Zahn.
And Simon is poised to capitalize on any mistake. It's just a matter of who cracks first.
The pursuit is on. Bones is closing the gap on Simon of the Desert, determined to claim P6. The pressure is really on for Malero in third as Adam Keefe is closing in. This is where experience and skill really count. Adam Keefe is running fourth and trying to catch Malero.
This is not going to be an easy pass to make.
Simon of the Desert is looking to take advantage of that slipstream being so close to David Zahn. That's gonna provide the extra speed to challenge for the position. Hold on a second. Superb driving from David Zahn, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Simon of the Desert wants to get into David Zahn's slipstream.
I might have said this before, but dog, bone, you know the rest.
David Zahn is in third, and is being closely chased by Simon of the Desert, who is just 0.2 seconds behind. The pressure is on as Simon of the Desert tries to catch up to David Zahn.
Simon is really pushing the limits. He's riding the curbs and hustling that ASRL Ferrari F40 like a boss.
Looks like Bones is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Bones needs to be careful not to overdo it.
The gap between Bones and Simon of the Desert is getting smaller.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. A driver that stays calm and focused is more likely to come out on top.
Things don't seem to be going Malero's way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. Oh, this is getting intense. Bones is just a few car lengths behind Simon of the Desert.
It's a game of strategy now as Bones hunts down Simon. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Bones gaining places and Simon of the Desert losing them. Simon of the Desert is giving it his all, chasing down Bones in P4.
Simon needs to focus to have a chance at getting past Bones.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed.
I would not be surprised to see him get this pass completed soon.
While speeding through Crowthorne braking development. What a move. Simon of the Desert has moved up to fourth.
That's what we like to see. Simon is really showing his class today.
Malero is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. Every move counts now as Adam Keefe works to reel in Kevin Lekmansky and overtake for P1. The gap. Wait. Oh, the pressure is really getting to Bones. He just lost fifth position to Sketty and really needs to regroup quickly.
Bones just got served a big slice of Eat My Dust by Sketty. Hope he's got his eating pants on.
These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Adam Keefe needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
The battle for P3 is heating up as Simon of the Desert tries to catch David Zahn in P3. That won't be ideal for Adam Keefe. The race is really heating up. Simon of the Desert is hunting down David Zahn with everything he's got. These drivers are battling hard for this position, each one trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other. Malero is on a mission, chasing Adam Keefe, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Malero should use slipstreaming to his advantage and close the gap to Adam Keefe.
Simon of the Desert wants to close that gap with David Zahn.
If Simon gets too close, he might end up taking the paint off.
This is what high-octane racing looks like. Adam Keefe is breathing down the neck of Kevin Lekmansky, not giving him any room to relax.
It's going to be a close one. Adam Keefe will have to push hard to create an opportunity.
Things are heating up as David Zahn closes in on Simon of the Desert. Breaking development. Great driving from David Zahn, who has just gained a place and moved up to first.
Absolutely. Zahn is really putting on a clinic out there, and he's making it look easy.
The crowd is on its feet as Simon of the Desert chases down David Zahn through Barbecue Bin.
With the way Simon is stalking Zahn, you'd think he's trying to figure out what he had for breakfast this morning.
No room for error here. Adam Keefe is breathing down the neck of Kevin Lekmansky, waiting for the perfect chance to make his move.
A misjudgment by either driver could result in a close encounter of the tire barrier kind, and that's one handshake they'll want to avoid.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Malero is closing in on Adam Keefe. Adam Keefe has the pedal to the metal chasing Kevin Lekmansky.
There is no room for error in this battle.
Look at that. Malero is hot on the tail of Adam Keefe. It's a close race between Adam Keefe and Kevin Lekmansky in third.
The slightest mistake from either driver could lead to a meeting with the barriers, and nobody wants an impromptu autograph session with the wall.
Things are heating up as Malero tries to close the gap to Adam Keefe. Simon of the Desert is running second, and trying to catch David Zahn.
The gap is 0.4 seconds now. Simon is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Zahn.
We got a close battle as Adam Keefe closes in on Kevin Lekmansky.
If this battle ends in tears, it could be like watching a high-speed domino effect. Let's hope they keep it clean and avoid any unplanned off-track excursions.
Wow, Malero is really pushing hard to catch up to Adam Keefe.
It's a battle for position as Malero tries to make a move on Adam Keefe. This is what racing is all about.
David Zahn is on fire in the last sector.
You got this, Zahn. Keep it cool and bring it home.
The leader has just finished the race. A fantastic result for David Zahn. Some might say that second place is the first loser, but Kevin Lekmansky certainly doesn't see it that way. He put in a phenomenal effort and should be proud of his podium finish. That was an outstanding performance from Simon of the Desert. He fought hard and took the final spot on the podium.
Great job bringing it home.
Adam Keefe, Malero, Sketty, and Bones in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th.